Welcome to the Hybrid Therapist Podcast with your hosts, Andrew Wild and Andrew Iliev. How are you, mate? Got
I'm good, buddy.
another kid.
Another
Three
kid.
now. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. Which is why we're a bit delayed on this podcast. It was meant to be 3 weeks, or nearly a month earlier.
Yeah, I think it was maybe, Well, how old's your newborn?
Well, a month tomorrow.
Because it was supposed to happen on that Friday, and I think
Yeah.
he was born maybe 2 days before it.
Yes. Yeah. So actually on the Saturday that we went in and everything started happening when I texted you that morning and said it's coming early, and then that was the end of the podcast.
Yeah. No.
Unless I was going to do
it. How's it going?
You know, number 3, I'm pretty relaxed.
Yeah. Well, I suppose you know what's coming.
Hey, you know what's coming. It's not as tough as the first one.
Yep.
So anyway, what's news in your world? No, you don't have 3 kids. So
no children. No children.
Very lucky.
My life is pretty easy if you compare it to having 3 children, I think. No, all is well. Did renovations on the clinic early in April, which is going well. So added a consult room at the front, and just to have the option of expansion going forward and maximize the space for a little bit longer before I go to somewhere bigger. Mm-hmm. So everything's going well there. Few little hiccups with the renovation, but that is the reality of a renovation. But no, everything's going well. We kicked off the AFL season for Riverview a couple of weeks ago. So we're into round 3 tomorrow. Mm-hmm. They're 1-1. Got beaten by Knox last week, which was a bit devastating. And no, everything's going well there. So at footy training twice a week, and then a game on the weekend, potentially 2. So that's pretty much it on my end. How are you?
Yeah.
How's the clinic going?
You know, we're good. We've just got the challenges at the moment. We were talking a little bit about this off air. Of when we've got 7 staff across our 2 clinics, and when you've got a couple away. So as of today, we have 3 on leave. And that is a challenge, juggling all these things. And some of them you can't do anything about. We have a system where we request people take time off and things, but sometimes you can't. If there's a wedding, if there's this and that, and it can mean that the rest of the other staff are then pumped. Yep. It can mean if things pop up. Now, I had some things pop up that I don't normally have pop up with so much, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And I have no staff whatsoever. I mean, I'm on the tools on a Saturday in clinic.
Yeah.
Which hasn't happened for a while.
And that's what we wanted to discuss today. A little bit about our journey, why we got into business, how we did it, the challenges that we're faced over the time. So let's start with you. So what year did you open the clinic, and why did you open the clinic?
So it was a little bit of a funny one, my one. Right. So the clinic didn't officially open to 2019.
Yep.
And when I say officially, is that we had the gym going and we were waiting for our space to be built. So the gym was 2017, start of 2018. We had a room at the back of the gym. It took us a year to finalize and build our clinic. And that was because, and while you know about this, renovations never go smoothly.
Yeah.
We had issues with the lease. We had issues with the landlord. We had issues with the council, all of which were irrelevant when it came down to it, because we're actually a health clinic and health clinics can open up everywhere. But we had a complex setup to start. So we used to have a coffee shop. We had the physio with a coffee shop. Technically, it was a physio, but it's a food and beverage. So it was a funny one. So 2019 was actually then when the clinic opened officially. And 2021 is where you see the physio as it is now, with no coffee shop.
Yeah.
So originally we were a room in the back of our gym.
Yeah. And so that would be about what, 5.5 years?
Mate, I think it's 7. Yeah.
7, right.
Yeah. Wow. But it was one of those ones where, probably a little bit like you, was still doing a lot of other work, sports work. I was doing some aged care work just to pay the bills. And then I was tippy-toeing over from private practice, where I was also working a little bit here, because there was so much going on rent-wise, fit out all of it, that I just couldn't afford to go 100% into the gym.
Yeah.
or into physio private world. So it was a little bit of a tippy toe.
And when you did start, so how did you get clients, and how did you fill the books in those the first year's tough, and how'd you fill the books?
I remember my first month, it was February, and I had one patient, of all of February.
What were you living off at that time?
Well, that's so I still had, and so here's the thing,
Oh,
right?
because you were seeing clients at another
For
practice.
another practice, I was doing
But
some aged
how are
care
you
work.
how are you doing that in terms of the restriction of trade around the
So
other?
it was very fortunate that my boss at the time helped me and talked me through setting up a practice.
Right.
So when I left that practice, I was wanting to jump up into more of an ownership role. I've always wanted to be a business owner. He wasn't willing to give it up, but he was also such a great mentor, and I still provide physios to him now when he's short.
Yeah.
But he was also 15 kilometers away from where I am.
Right.
So, there was no direct competition. But had that have been an issue, it may have come up, but I was very fortunate. We had a really good relationship. I was very transparent with what I wanted. And so he actually allowed me to work the hours I needed to work there while doing my own. From a point of view as well, savings wise, I knew that when I opened up, and I didn't want to dip into my savings, hence why I was still working other jobs. I had 3 months of living expenses and rent for the practice before I was running out.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So
So you
I
had a
went in there
backup.
with a backup,
Yeah. Yeah.
to be able to do it. And I'm a little bit of a conservative businessman in that way, that I've always got, like, even now in our clinic savings account, we have a year of rent and full wages that we can dip into if we were not to see another patient for a year. So say if COVID hit, we would have a backup.
Yep.
Ideally, I'll never have to use that, but that's how I like to base my business. I like to do it there. Could I invest it? Yes. Could you use it for other things? Yes. Partly we used it to expand, but then we always like to have that as our base level. But yeah, all of that first month was one patient, and then it
And
becomes a spiral.
yeah. And then from there, I assume you're relying on word of mouth combined with the gym referrals.
Correct. The gym, part of the sporting teams like you do that you look after, you're hoping that they come into your clinic. Not always.
No.
There are plenty of physios clients, that go to their own physios and don't come to you, no matter how well you deal with them, or your reputation or your relationship. They've just had someone they've seen for 10, 15 years, or their parents see.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, I didn't advertise. Now, we do a lot of Google advertising now. But we've become a little bit more of a rolling beast, so that ours is a continual sort of flow. But initially, it was word of mouth, doing a great job, canvassing doctors, which I don't necessarily believe in, and I never relied on referrals from doctors. I focused more on referrals from personal trainers.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot like you, Wildy, I know you did the same, because I knew if I gave personal trainers discounted physio, did a great job on them, I would get all their clients, and that happened. So I was big on the PTs, because these PTs were seeing 5, 10 people a day. They actually get injured. They want to keep their clients training. Well, I was the physio that could keep their clients training.
Yeah.
So that for me was more important. And then came your doctors and your surgeons, but that becomes more of a reputation thing. And now I did no work to reach out to surgeons, and now our relationship with surgeons is brilliant because we've built a great reputation.
Yeah. You're just referring back and forth, and yeah.
Correct. What
Yeah.
about you,
And
Wildy?
that's just something that takes time as well.
It does. And you've got to be patient with that, right? You can't open up and expect to be the busiest physio on the block.
Yeah. Well, completely agree with that. So yeah, I wanted to open up a business probably about 3 to 4 years out of uni, and just hadn't sort of settled where I wanted to stay. Eventually got back to Sydney, sort of started 2017, and felt like I'd stay in Sydney. So worked for a little bit in the city, and then October 2018 opened the clinic up in the city inside a private health club. Was probably a conservative move at the time. because I didn't have a huge amount of rent to cover because I was working inside a health club and just had rent based off the access to a room and then the gym as well. So there was potential expansion opportunity there, but I probably would have maxed out at probably one more physio other than me. So everything was going well. How did I get clients? To start with, it was not too bad because I had worked in the city for about 18 months. So people knew that I was heading that way through Instagram or whatever. And I'd
Mm-hmm.
posted up that I'd opened up in inside the Marriott, inside the health club there. So it wasn't too bad, but it was slow going to start with because you don't have a brand that's
No.
synonymous with good physio care. A lot of people haven't seen you. You've only got a
Mm-hmm.
few clients. So the same as you, literally word of mouth, doing a really, really good job with people. Google reviews, I think, are pretty king.
Yes.
They're
Yeah.
really important. Having a good Google profile and a good website that functions really
Mm-hmm.
well, that is important. I agree with doctors because doctors might have 20 physios that have dropped cards in or chatted to them. And, it's very hard to get consistent referrals from GPs.
Yeah.
Surgeons is a little different, I think.
Yeah.
And sports docs, I think, again,
Yeah.
if you've got a good sports doc relationship, they'll often refer you clients. So I've got a really good relationship with Tom Cross, and he sends me a lot of clients that live around Neutral Bay, Cremorne,
Mm-hmm.
Mossman area now. But I think the end of the day, no matter what you do in terms of advertising in any healthcare, I think word of mouth is still king.
Yeah.
If you do a good job with your clients, you will get referrals. And I really think that the Google profile is so important because
Yeah.
that's what people do these days. They Google physio near me or physio neutral bay or physio double bay or whatever it is. And if you've got a good Google profile and you're quite high up in terms of ranking,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to come up quite high. And
Yeah.
also, if you've got a lot of reviews that are really solid, well, the chance of someone choosing you is quite high.
Which is
So
so. Let's touch on that one. Is how do you get your Google ranking high?
it's really hard. It's literally time, reviews, making sure you're posting on Google. I think that's important. People
Yeah.
miss that. So rather than just posting on Instagram or TikTok or
Yeah.
something like that, post on Google
Yeah.
photos, posts that you do on Instagram, that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You can obviously pay for Google Ads
Yep.
to get you up higher so that if
Can
you
come up the
say,
top.
yeah, exactly, you come up the top. Like
Yep.
if you type in physionemia, you often see the first two or three that come up may be an ad.
Yeah, and it
And
will
then
say that
under,
now.
yeah, and then under that, then it'll be more of your organic searching.
Yep.
So, in Neutral Bay, once I moved the clinic from the city to Neutral Bay because of COVID, because the clinic, I had to shut it down in the city because of
Mm.
COVID, because the hotel turned into a quarantine hotel, and
Yeah.
then the private health club closed down for 5.5 months, I think it was in the end. So I ended up moving it to Neutral Bay. But because it was kind of frustrating because in the city, I was ready to put on a physio and start expanding and,
Mm.
things were really set in motion and it
Yeah.
was starting to snowball. Then COVID hit. And then because my Google um, address was the city, I had to
Yeah.
move it to Neutral Bay. And then because I then moved it to Neutral Bay, I was then all the way down the pecking order again.
Yeah.
So then I've had to build it up again. And I think I come up, like third or something like that now
Yeah.
in Neutral Bay if someone Googles Neutral Bay physio or physio
Yeah.
in Neutral Bay. And it's just been time
Well, you
and
like
hard
me
work.
too. We up against clinics that have been established in Double Bay and Neutral Bay for 20 plus years,
Exactly.
and they automatically take top ranking. Um, so it's sometimes, and you're right, it's time. But in addition to that, I think as well, don't undervalue blogs. So
Oh, yeah, I agree with
and
that. Yeah.
adding to your thing there is of everything that we do, adding blogs because every time you update your website, Google picks up on that.
Yes.
And then within that, you have organic search engine terms that
Yeah.
come up and raise. So, when a blog gets into the system, and all my physios here, we have a 7 weekly roster. So even I write them, and a physio writes a blog every 7 weeks. Now, in 7 weeks, with your spare time in clinic, that's not out of clinic time, you can get
Yep.
a blog done. And it's mainly for our search engine optimization, but also to, a part of the learning process for the physios of education. They go back and think on cases or whatnot. That helps. And then a lot of people do SEOs.
Yeah.
They pay for a company to do SEOs as well. I don't know your opinion on it. I don't think it's overly effective. We do it. I don't know if it nets us any benefits.
Yeah, I'd somewhat agree there. Yeah, I think that because it is so word of mouth dominant healthcare, I think that going down that route of ads, look, it probably helps a bit, but I think I went to this seminar a few years ago about this, and they were mentioning that back in the early 2000s, it took roughly about 3 to 4 touch points for you to get a client. Touch points would be you see the sign or the clinic, you see an ad in the paper, someone tells you about them, and then you hear it somewhere else. And then that is enough for them to then book in with you and make a sale, right? But now this was 2019, I think it was, so it's probably even worse now. Back then it was 18 to 20 touch points.
Wow.
So for you to build that trust, it takes longer. It's multiple Instagram posts, it's a Google profile, it's a Google post, it's them seeing you walking past your clinic or whatever it is. It's just heaps and heaps and heaps of touch points to build that trust in the brand, in the clinician, for them to then book in with you. So that makes it hard. So then I think that the ad side of things is tricky, because one ad is probably not going to net you a client just off that ad. They're going to have to see what else you're about, and that might be on your website, delving into the about page about each clinician or what your values are and that sort of thing. And I agree with the blog side of things. We have a blog as well, and we post one a week. And we also do the email that we normally post every week gets repurposed as a blog.
Yeah.
And it's an educational blog / email about something. Like we did one on plantar heel pain last week or the week before. And yes, that increases your Google search engine optimization going forward. So agree with that.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that it can be tough. You and I went through it when we were only us. Where you're doing everything. You're doing Instagram, you're doing ads, you're doing Google, you're asking, or you're trying to get people for referrals, which personally I never asked for referrals. I never felt good about it. I know other people do, and I know sales gurus tell you, ask your patients to refer their friends. I personally felt weird about it. I was like, look, my opinion is if they're going to come and see me or they're going to refer me, it's because I've done a good job. Full stop. I don't need to say, hey, send your friends to me. To me, that I just couldn't do it. But I know if you go to a sales seminar, they're going to tell you to do it. Same with some of those bullshit evergreen marketing campaigns. You'll see some of those physio ones out there, and I fucking hate them. I hate them so much. And they, give you a $50 discount, and you'll see the ads come out, $50 discount on physio. Bullshit. I'm never discounting my physio service unless it's to patients, A, who are financially struggling. Or B, I've got people I've seen for 10 years who see me back when I was in my old clinic, and they followed me over. I'm not going to put them on a full rate because they're as loyal to me as I'm going to be to them.
Yeah, it is a very good point, because obviously your rates would have increased over a period of time due to expenses and inflation, blah, blah, blah.
Well, I remember $68 for an initial consult when I started physio. Mate, I'm 160 now, and it's just how it's changed. Also, we do longer appointments. The profession's changed. It's different, but I've still got people that I'm going to show a level of, I'm not going to put their rates up to that. I'm not going to make them pay that full price, because they've been loyal to the day I opened. They've seen me. So, but I'm not sending out a thing saying, come in for a $50 massage for winter massage special. No, thank you. That's not how I'm running my clinic. I'm not discounting my services. We offer a great service. Not happening.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think, look, Instagram's a little bit similar to like advertising on Google. You might get a few clients, you might, but it's tricky, because I just don't think we see that many clients based off an Instagram. Like, again, it's hard to build trust.
Yeah.
in a brand and in a clinician just off Instagram. I
I also
think
find,
you need a little bit more than that. You
I
know,
agree.
someone else has seen that clinician, but also they started to both follow that
Yeah.
Instagram page. You know, Facebook and Instagram ads. I think it's more important if you say have a product, right? So like
Agree.
I have, you know, online training programs and we've just tweaked those up recently and we've got,
Mm.
you know, a women's only and a men's only one, big and strong for the men and strong for the women. And that's a product and that's probably a little bit easier to advertise via Facebook and
Hmm.
Instagram and that sort of thing.
You also want to get a wider market. You want to hit the
Yeah.
world with
Yeah.
that, not, let's be honest, physio, probably a 5-10K radius.
Exactly. Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah.
Um, I mean, the other thing with that with Instagram is I find the clients that I have got through Instagram are not my ideal client. So they're the one coming to me with some sort of injury, some sort of problem. They want everything solved in one hit,
Yep.
or they want that quick fix. And I'm like, look, this is I can't cure you. I'm not a magician. I can't wave a wand over your injury. I'm sorry, that's not how it works. So I've never found my Instagram to be great clients.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that you get better clients probably based off your Google reviews because often your Google reviews will tell the people that are potentially booking in with you that this is how we go about things.
Yeah, I
You
agree.
know, it's not on Google reviews. You're not going to see, oh, Andrew Iliev and Andrew Wild, they're really good at massage
Yeah,
and they're
yeah,
acupuncture specialists and this type of stuff, is it? It's going
yeah.
to be a focus on
It's
the
what you've done.
active treatment, like we've discussed, the hybrid therapist model. So I think you get your ideal, you know, client avatar, if you like, from Google more than
Yeah,
Instagram. Yeah, I would agree with that.
which also comes back to your word of mouth, is because someone who's referring, like John, who sees you or I, refers Sam based on the fact that John liked the way that we worked and would
Yes.
usually tell Sam, hey, I went and saw Andrew or Andrew, and they did a little bit of massage, but hey, then they got me in the gym, they were working on this, they were doing that. So they already come in with an expectation versus, sometimes no expectation, and they don't know how, at least they know how we practice, they know our philosophies, and there's already an insight into our business.
Yeah, agreed. I think one of the biggest things about business is there's so many times during your business journey that you kind of want to give up. Don't you reckon? Like, how many times in that first year or 2 years were you like, oh, fuck this. This is hard.
I'm
You
like
know,
that
like,
every week.
yeah, I know. It's not easy. It's the hard route. And this is why a lot of people either don't do it or they do it and then they bail on it.
Yeah,
But you've got to commit. And I think that the 5 year plan and committing for 5 years is the most important thing.
yeah,
You got to commit to that time frame. You know, I'm 5 years open as of this October, and I feel like obviously we've had 2 years of COVID probably in
mm,
there. That's impacted both of our businesses and
yeah,
everyone's business in
yeah,
around the world. But um, I think that consistency of just over and over and over again
mhm,
showing up online, showing up
yeah,
on Google, showing up and treating your clients, give them a great experience. And after 5 years, then you could be like, all right, finally, I'm seeing these big rewards for all this hard
yeah,
work. And this probably segues into the question now of when when is it time to then once you're a solo practitioner, when is it time to put on another physio? So
yeah,
then your staff increases from yourself to
yeah,
one to two to three. So I've got Nick at the moment, and I've got a
hmm,
couple of contractors that do some work for me online as well.
hmm,
However, you've got seven.
yeah.
So what's that
It's
tipping point?
let's talk about experience. So me first, when I had double bay, working 6 days a week, 6 a.m. till 7 p.m. and then all Saturday was the wrong move. Right. But
Yeah,
I didn't,
burnout.
100%, but I didn't know what to do, right? Yes, I loved business, I loved running it, and I had this crazy busy practice but by the time I hired my first staff member, mate, I was doing what two physios should have been doing. So I was late to the party on that one. So when Joel started with me, he walked into a busy practice because it was
Mm,
like, fuck, I'm no longer working these hours, I'm cutting back. And but that is not the way I recommend to do it at all. It was the wrong thing. You learn from your mistakes. Now, what I do is when my physios get to about 70% capacity,
And what's
is
capacity?
so I take their weekly work hours and I divide it by 45 minutes. And that's how many appointments would, if they filled up all of those hours, that would be how many appointments they would see at 100% capacity. That 100% capacity is never achievable, right? I'd like to think it is, but I mean, it's not really.
You probably
But
don't want it to be 100% as well,
no,
just for
fuck no, burnout.
the long-term health of of your
Absolutely.
staff, because
No,
burnout's high.
exactly right. And like, all right, that's a goal. You'd love that, but it's not going to happen, right? Invariably, you're going to get one cancellation, or
Yeah.
all right, it's never ever happened that someone's been 100, unless we've had, like, now we've got short staff, and one of my guys is like 120% this week. I'm at 140. It's just we're just hammering to fit people in until everyone's back. I'm working days I don't want to work. That's irrelevant. Now I look at that 70% capacity as a point where I'm going to bring someone on, because I know that I've got the other guys up, and without taking away from their patient load, I can bring someone else on. So we use it as a 70% capacity rule. We use a rough rule is that we should be getting 5 new patients per week per physio.
Yeah.
So that then gives us enough flow on into the next weeks and the following weeks in terms of theoretical rebookings. Now, you don't see everyone again. That's fine. We're not fine. But 5 should give you a flow into booking. And once those physios are, roughly we're achieving 5. Now, I haven't seen a new patient this week, but that's a normal thing. But one of my guys has seen like 10 or 12. So, he makes up for the 5 that I haven't seen, but I don't really want to be seeing new patients anymore. So
Yeah.
we look at that 70%, and then that's when we bring them on.
Yeah. And I remember when I was in discussions with you, because obviously I was ready to do it in the city, and then COVID hit and then put me back, a couple of years. And then it was a tricky time to think about putting someone on because of what was going to happen with COVID. You weren't sure whether things were going to hit the fan again like
100%.
Delta did, and it was really tricky. But I remember talking to you, and you're like, do it earlier rather than later,
Yeah.
or at least start looking. And
Yeah.
as you said to me, you said, do it early, because it'll take you months to find the right person. And it took me a few goes to find the right person. I had several interviews, and the right person just didn't come up until Nick came along, and Nick's been great.
Yeah.
So, and I think what you're saying, I agree with in terms of the numbers and everything, but you have to do it probably earlier than you think. And you probably need to just suck it up a little bit earlier on. Like that clinician's not going to make you a heap of money early on.
Well, they don't make you for about 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, it's a great
Right.
point. Yeah, that it takes them to build their own business within the business. Because I say that to Nick all the time. You are your own business in a way, and progression for you is obviously each year your salary will go up, because that's just how it is with health. There's the award. However, if you want to get paid even better than that, well, there's commission, and having sort of a retainer and then commission. There's these options going forward. If you're really busy, then these are ways we can go forward in terms of payment. And so on that, actually, do you have, because I'm pretty sure from memory, you have all of your employees on a salary?
Everyone's on a salary.
Yeah.
And everyone's salaried. The senior guys get offered commission. The newer guys do not. Now, and there's a reason why I do it is we've got one new grad with us here at the moment. At Coogee, we've got one first year out, and they were in the hospital system first. I just want them to be physios. I just want to learn how to be a physio. I don't want them to stress about numbers. I've made the decision to bring them on, which means I've done the calculations of how much the business can afford, how much it earns. Their wage is safe, unless something drastic happens. COVID. That might change it. But let's just say they're safe. So I want them to focus on being a physio. We don't do KPIs, probably much like you. We've talked about that. About that in the past. I just want them to focus on being the best physio they can. So I don't want to bring commission targets into that so that they're trying to push for that early on. I literally just want them to focus on being the best physio they can and learning how to be a physio.
Yeah. And until they've built that confidence and they've built their
Correct.
book, and then
Yeah.
they've got a consistent book, then they can potentially be,
And
they can start to think about
that's
it.
right. And then they walk into commission anyway. Then they're in commission territory organically
Yep.
versus, and I know some practices that do it that offer commission just off the bat. That's bullshit for new grads because like I said, it takes 6 to 12 months to become profitable or even break even on a new
Yeah.
physio. If you're running the practices we run, we don't run high volume DVA, workers' comp, aged care patients, and there's nothing wrong with that. We just don't run those clinics. So we don't get the ability to just say, hey, Nick, I'm just going to send you this person I've been seeing for 5 years. They're
Yeah.
going to see you now. They're going to turn around and go, no, 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 I want you, Andrew. I've seen you.
Yeah.
We just can't do that.
Yeah.
So we also just don't have the ability to go, well, you're a workers' comp, or you see Lockie, or you see Nick, bad luck. We don't have volume of that.
Yeah, and I think the problem with commission too early, or just commission in general, sometimes there can be some over servicing because
Yeah.
people are trying to fill their book. So I think once someone is established and they're flying along, they won't even need to think about that because they're so busy. So I
Exactly
agree with
right.
I agree with that for sure. You need to take the stress out of it as well because the first sort of 2 to 4 years, 5 years is pretty tough.
Exactly right. Learn how to be a physio. Learn how to manage your time. We've learned from here as a clinic how we've gone on as well. When I first opened up, like I said, I was doing 7 days sometimes, and then it was 6 days and 5 days, and then my physios were doing 5 days. Now all of our physios are 4 days a week. So every single one at Double Bay is 4 days a week because we're a well-oiled machine here.
Is that for 4 days in clinic and they're doing 38 hours over those 4 days?
36.
36. So you give them 2 hours up their sleeve to do admin?
Yeah, or PD. We Friday
Yeah.
PD.
Yeah.
Like some of the guys, if the senior guys will do more,
Yeah.
but also there is a commission target there. So, there'll be a desire to do more hours.
Yeah.
And also, sometimes extending that hour or two, but yeah, 4 days a week. And that was really spurned, it came out of COVID. We did it to change so that we wouldn't cross infect anyone or we would only have a certain way of working. And we would like pods or teams. And then that continued over and it's been the best thing we've ever done.
Yeah. Right. So they're doing 9 hour days or they're doing say a 11 hour day and a shorter day or
Correct. Yeah. Like let's just use Tom an example. He'll start at 6:45 in the morning, and then he's finishing at 6. But then on a Friday, he starts at 6:45 and then knocks off home at 4 to beat the traffic. And then he'll work. He works Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
right.
So we've all got days off. For example, mine Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Chantel is Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and
Hmm.
Lockie is Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So
Yeah.
yes, there's weekend work, but 4 day weeks pretty good.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I like at the moment for me, I do 4 in clinic and then I've got the football on the side as well. And eventually I want to drop down to probably 3 clinic and I'm happy doing the football because I really like it because I coach as
Yeah.
well. But yeah, just to drop one more day as well in the future would be great. But I think the other thing about the business side of things is software
Mm.
and technology has made it easier. So things like what we're using at the moment, Zoom,
Yeah,
and you can
Zoom.
do telehealth consults
Mm-hmm.
via Clinico. The
Yeah.
video is probably not as good as Zoom, and I often just use Zoom,
I think
but
we all
it's
set up the appointment in Clinico and then we all use Zoom, don't we?
yeah, I typically do. I just think the quality is a little bit better, but
Yeah.
Clinico is phenomenal. I think Clinico, what I've seen, Clinico and Nucal are probably the top dogs
Yeah, I think so. I think
with practice management software.
allowing the online booking is a bit of a game changer.
Mm,
Particularly, I remember probably like you when you started physio, you could not operate without a receptionist.
yeah,
Now, with the sort of models we have, let's be honest, receptionists are a little bit outdated.
Yeah, no, I completely agree because like Clinico does all the job for you just about with the
Yep.
online bookings because it makes more sense as well.
Yeah, it does.
Because rather than an email, then you're saying, I've got these times available. This person can just get on, they have their work schedule next to the online booking platform, and then they can bang, that's the one I
Yep.
want. Away you go.
Yeah, exactly right. And that speeds it up. Um, it links in beautifully with Instagram, it links in with Facebook, it links in with a website. You can chuck it on YouTube. We're now onto QR coding. So we have QR codes around the place that people just go and QR code and go straight to a booking link. Are they effective? I don't know, but we have them.
Yeah.
We
I
lucky
think just
with
the fact that you can do online bookings is just a
100%.
game changer. And
Yeah.
the other thing with Clinico, it just integrates with everything as well. Like it integrates with
Brilliant.
Zero. I use Zero accounting
Yeah,
software.
Zero.
Integrate,
MailChimp for your
yeah,
emails.
integrates with Mailchimp. Yeah, I just think it's a no-brainer to either use that or Nukel.
Yeah.
Um, it just makes complete sense. And the
Yeah.
notes side of things is so much better. Like written notes were such a punish. Now you can just copy the previous note and then change what you need to within each
Exactly right.
objective or subjective. Yeah, reducing how much admin you have to do.
Well, that's a secret for a business owner, right? Is we already have so much admin with, handling wages, super. We were talking about this earlier off air. That tax, you have to pay your BAS statements. Let's go on other expenses other than
Well, this is
that.
what we wanted to discuss is the
Yeah.
extra expenses that you probably forget about if you do
Yeah.
start a
Yeah.
business and you're like, oh, I won't have to pay this, this, and this. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, I've got the BAS, as you were
Yeah.
saying, and blah, blah, blah.
And you have a GST element as well because of your online stuff. I'm assuming what products you have, so that can
Yep.
complicate it more. Your workers' comp, you got to pay eye care.
Yep.
You got to have your insurances. You got to have your business insurance. You got to pay rent. Let's go back to even having a bond. You got to have a bond
Mm.
for the facility that you rent. You got legal fees because you got to have a lawyer look over that. The cost to start up, even going back further, can be quite high
Oh yeah, for
without
sure. But you're also you want to have X amount of money depending on what you're doing in terms of your setup, but you still want to have a bit of a backup as well, just in
yeah.
case things go pear-shaped.
You're exactly right. You don't want to be operating on zero. Now I know a lot of businesses maybe do that. Every month is like, oh, is there enough money in the account? And that's fine. There's a lot of businesses do that, but you really do want to have a safety net.
Oh, 100%. But you're going to have times during your business journey where things are tighter and
100%
or
cash flow.
you're just going to have a lot of expenses in a short period of time. A good
Exactly
example
right.
is I just did renos and
Yeah.
it cost me a fair bit to do those renos, but it's
Yeah.
more of I'm looking at it long term.
Well, you have to.
It sucks at the moment when you have to pay all
Yeah.
this money for a renovation and you just think I'm in the wrong game when you see the invoice for a small building renovation. You're like, I'm
Yeah.
in the wrong game here.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's true, but it's what we do need to do. We did the same here. We refreshed our clinic, new flooring, new cabinetry on the rooms, new desks, all of it. And you're not getting under for under 50 grand. In the gym, we brought in gym flooring turf. Mate, the turf, two 20-meter tracks, you're talking about 20 grand.
Yeah,
And
they
people
don't miss you.
no. So that's the realities of business. Updating equipment. You like me, we have a lot of equipment. We have to update or buy new stuff, dumbbells, plates, bands, whatever it is, you want to keep that all fresh.
Mm.
But I mean, that's part of business. That's the
And
reality of running a business.
and this is why people don't do it.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's not easy, and there's a lot of speed bumps you have to get over to. And I think the other thing is I feel like when I started, I was like, oh, I want to get to this point and then I'll be happy. But if I've kind of felt like I've started in the last few years, started to just enjoy it, like enjoy the journey and enjoy the grind, enjoy the hustle rather than think I'm only going to be happy when I get to this point.
Yeah.
I think being more content with where I am and you're probably the same. You feel content with what you've got rather than always chasing more and more and more. And
I
we've
think
discussed this on the via
we just
text, just about the
yeah.
sweet spot of how many clinicians you would ideally
100%.
want at your
Yeah.
clinic. And I mentioned to you, I think, 3 would be
Yeah.
ideal. Like,
Three was probably where I was happiest. You
3
know,
on top of yourself.
no, I think 3 in total.
Yeah, 2. So 2
Two,
employees
really,
and
two
yourself.
employees.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I think personally, sadly for me, I think my personality, which I can't be, I don't, I always want more, right? It's like a drug for me. I'm like a heroin addict, you know, and it's that next little hit. And I always remember that first feeling of, you know, business and opening up. So I always want more of that, and that's a problem that I have, and I continually want to chase that. And I do envy, you know, people who can say, all right, you know, 3 is where I want to be at, and or 1, I'm happy to stick in a room by myself with a little gym floor and do the way I want to practice. I don't have that in me so much, so it's like I'm looking example now at our next clinic and where we're going to open, and how we're going to open it, and again, probably should I stop? Yeah, like my gut tells me yes, but my mind just is,
Yeah, I'm the
yeah.
same. Like we both have big, big ambitions to, push as far as we possibly can, but at the same time, you reduce a lot of headaches if you didn't.
It's so simple, you know.
Mm.
But anyway, that's why we do it. Having said that, you know, it definitely fills the time when you're busy running, you know, a couple of practices, a gym, and I think that complicates it on our end too, because we also like we've got the gym we manage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So, you know, like, and that's got 5 S&Cs,
yeah,
which is again a whole nother beast and level. So, you know, for us, it's a challenge there. But you know, would I take it back? No, no way. I'm not going
yeah,
to go
for
and be
sure.
someone's employee, not anymore.
No, no, no. I don't think you and I would have been good long-term employees. We're not very agreeable.
No, we don't listen to anyone.
Yeah, we like doing our own thing, mate.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's why we go off and do our own thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Um, but let's just touch on what advice would you give to anyone opening your own business? Like, well, what
I
would you
think
say to someone?
be prepared, do your research, and I think the biggest thing is patience.
Yeah,
Like you just got to stick it out, and you're gonna have times in those first few years where you don't have many clients,
yeah,
and you got to fill that space somehow, and that's actually a good time to build content,
yeah,
and try different avenues of getting clients, whether that be going and chatting to surgeons or
mhm,
trying some ads or something like that, or chatting to GPs, chatting to personal trainers, just build your network out,
yeah,
I think. But the number one thing is do an amazing job with every client that walks in the door, and you will slowly build your book
mhm,
based off word of mouth.
yeah. I agree with all of that, and also and I like you said that 5-year plan. If you
Yeah.
want to go in forever and be the physio who just works at a gym with 1 room, that's great. That's your 5-year plan. But if you want to open up a clinic and have 10 employees under you, that's your 5-year plan. But at least have it mapped out, planned. You know, you can't just go in and wing it.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
You know, and look, you can as a sole practitioner,
Yes.
you can wing it. But if your goal is to establish a clinic and a you know a well-known clinic or whatever, you do have to have a plan. And in that, don't hesitate to reach out to people who do have clinics or run clinics. And I was lucky, like I said at the start, I had a mentor who helped me set it up. I've recently just mentored a young kid, not a young kid, he's 10 or 6 years out, but you know, in helping him a little bit with his business and his practice, and he's never had anyone like that. And you know, he's just left his period with us of coming in, and he's busier than he's ever been, just because he's seen how a business operates. And that's what you've
Yeah.
got to remember. You're a business if that's what you want to do. You're not a sole practitioner if you want to go down that path. You're a business,
Yeah.
and you have to treat it as such. And which the hard thing is, it comes down to profit and loss as well. You have to be
Yeah.
ready to make hard decisions sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, I opened up when I was 30, and I thought I'm not looking at when I'm 33 or 34. I'm like, all right, what do I want my life to look like when I'm 40 or 45?
Yeah.
What do I want the practice to look like then?
Mhm.
So I'm still thinking down that route rather than just looking to next year. Obviously, it's important to still look at next year, but
Yeah.
I'm looking at the long term. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's good
it
advice
is.
though, mate.
It is, and look, most leases, let's be honest, are about a 5-year lease.
Yeah,
They're a 5+5 or a 5+3. I know here we're a
yeah,
10+3, whatever. So you are in for the, like when
yeah,
we inked the deal here, we were here for 10 years. So we better have fucking made it work. Otherwise, we're losing our bond. Probably would have lost my home. Might have ended up bankrupt. Like, they're all the look, let's be honest, they're all the risks that you have with business too.
yeah.
So, for people who look at their boss and go, fuck, he's making a lot of money, he may be, but he's also taken a lot of risk in taking a lease. He's probably a personal guarantor for the property. So, therefore, he will risk losing his business if it goes under. He can risk going bankrupt. There are so many risks with owning a business, and the reward, if you are successful, is justified because you are the one taking the risk.
And the other thing is a lot of these younger physios might be seeing the clinic that's established 15, 20 years down the track, and they didn't see the hard times early on in the first
Yeah,
5.
yeah, and it is good to be part of that. Like, you have to see that, because you get in there and go, I earn the physio $6,000 a week working for him.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, he also pays rent, he pays super, he pays your salary, he pays tax. He doesn't get $6,000 off you.
yeah, exactly.
That's not how it works. In physio, the markup's maybe 20-30%. He's maybe getting $2,000 off you. However, just remember, for the first 6 or 12 months he was with you, he was probably making a loss on you, or he wasn't making that much money off you.
Yeah, and
So
they're putting in a lot of time and effort to build up your skills and help you out and
exactly right. So
professional development.
yeah, staff also need to be aware of that side of it. We're very transparent here with all our earnings and everything. So they go out to the staff, because I also want them to know that, like, hey guys, like, I'm not making $1 million a year. Like, the clinic might be, but I'm not. And that's important to know, because otherwise they can think, oh, he's just milking me, and I don't want that. I want them to be part of a team to know that we're all working towards a similar goal.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So,
And it's been good chatting to you as well, because started things. I started a little bit after you, but it's good to chat to someone that's like-minded, and we
and
started
you,
the podcast, and
yeah, and you probably had a lot more of the bad luck with your clinic was literally shut down without your choice, right? Like in the
yeah,
city,
yeah,
you
yeah.
and the city was
I didn't have a
hammered.
choice.
No, as with we were in a different environment during COVID, and fortunately wasn't as hard hit.
Yeah. And I look
But
at it, I've been open just over sort of 4.5 years, but, 2 of those were pretty shit because of
yeah,
COVID. Like, obviously, there was help with government staff and we were still able to be open during that time. But, having to move at home for a period of time and all these other hurdles that I went through, look, it was kind of a good thing in the end, because now I've moved the clinic to Neutral Bay where I live and I can walk to work. But at the
yeah,
same time, it was a challenging period.
yeah.
But those challenging periods make it all worthwhile when you do get to the point where you're
That's
feeling
it.
comfortable and you're building. And
Look,
yeah,
if you could
it's very
survive that,
rewarding.
it
I would
is.
say that, isn't it? Like, I really enjoy it. And I was touch and go whether I would stay in the profession going forward if I didn't go into business.
Mm,
I wasn't sure whether I wanted to just stay in in the physio world as an employee going forward. I think I needed something else to challenge myself,
I
and
agree with that.
business has been it, and it's
Yeah.
been a fun journey, and I look forward to continuing the journey going forward. And even prior to you and I starting the podcast, we talked about it for a while, and even
Mm,
prior to talking about it, I'd thought about it myself, and
mm,
even going into business was again a catalyst to go off and do something like this. And the
yeah.
podcast has been a great thing,
Yeah, it
and
has.
it's well, I suppose it's continuing to grow, isn't it? Now we're doing them
It is.
once a month.
Yeah. Now, and next month will actually be once a month.
Yeah.
Unless
Well,
I'm stepping stuff up.
we said it was going to go for 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah,
It's
what
probably
are
gone
we?
for
Nearly an hour,
45,
huh? Yeah, God.
probably 45. Anyway,
Yeah. I reckon we should end it
if
there.
people are interested, they'll listen.
If they're interested, they'll listen. And if they want us to do a number two on something like this, we can. We can
Yeah,
always do
yeah.
more. But otherwise, I think, we'll go off and talk about our next topic. I've been listening to heaps of podcasts on history.
History,
Yeah. I've
like
been
ancient
walking.
history.
a bit of everything. American Civil War, Sparta. It's been fantastic. Just
Yeah, good.
I needed a mind break from healthcare
Yeah, I do a bit of that. I often get on YouTube and I go into deep dives on YouTube about something. I got obsessed
because
about
you're
like
a COVID anti-vaxxer, aren't
got into the pyramids at one point,
you?
like how they were built.
The
And then
aliens.
actually
Was that
9/11
alien video you sent me though?
alien
The
video.
alien, yeah, aliens building the pyramids.
What are you talking about? No, aliens had nothing to do with it. But I got so obsessed with all the 9/11 docos when the 20-year
Yeah.
anniversary, because they were on all
Oh
these
yeah, of course.
platforms. Like YouTube's got all these old documentaries about it as
Mm.
well. And love YouTube. You just go onto my previously played list on YouTube and there's some weird shit. Anyway,
Cracker.
well, it's been great, mate.
Yeah, it has been fun.
We'll do it again in a month.
One
And
more month, and by then it's 6 months through the year, and we're only 2 weeks into the year. It's gone, flown.
two podcasts in as well.
Yeah, it feels like it. It flies this year. But I think everyone knows where to find you.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
know
yeah.
where to find me.
Well, we've got our logo in the background now, so
I
people
know
know
there was
where
a
we
revelation. I've even got
what
my
it
blue
is.
shirt. I've copied Wildy today.
Love it, mate.
Yep. So it's part of the fashion moving forward.
What do we sign off with? I don't even remember.
Don't even remember.
All right.
Don't even remember. But you know what?
We'll catch you next time.
Yeah.